What's up, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and none of the above? This is DL returning with DPL coverage from Season 2. This will be my third match. This one was against JaCubAsAlways, who is one of the captains of Crit City. So it's a team that eventually made it to the finals of DPL, so this was one of the stronger teams out there. And Jacob being one of their captains, of course. He couldn't be that bad, right? I didn't know him. I had never met him or heard of him before, but I didn't know many people going into this anyways. Apparently their captains were from APA, which is one of the bigger leagues. I'm competing in their Mono Ice tournament right now. They got going on, Midi Claws. But anyways, his team is this one right here. This team is really top heavy. You'll notice his bottom two mons are a Duosion and a Driftblim. So I basically just prepared for this team of 6 here, which consists of the Mega Alakazam, Jirachi, Tapu Bulu, Keldeo, which is one of the Z captains, Hydreigon, which is the other Z captain, and Nidoqueen. And then my team that I was working with is these 6, which is Mega Alakazam, Slowking, Mandibuzz, Z Koko, Roserade, and Z Zygarde, with Steelix and Perugly on the bench. So Steelix is the only rocker on the team that I was using this week, but Steelix didn't really have a great matchup. Obviously, it's not too bad against like Jirachi and Zam, but loses pretty heavily to a lot of these other Pokemon. And overall, it just didn't seem that useful, and Stealth Rocks just weren't really all that necessary this week. With 3 of his Pokemon resisting Rock between the Nidoqueen, Keldeo, and Jirachi. Steelix just didn't seem that worthwhile in comparison to the other Pokemon that I could bring. Especially since, given how many of his Pokemon resist Rocks, I felt that Spikes were the superior hazard in this matchup, and you'll see that I am bringing those on the Roserade. So looking at this matchup, it was pretty obvious that he was going to bring a Choice Scarf Hydreigon. That seems... I have a Mega Alakazam, a Zygarde, which could potentially Dragon Dance, and a Tapu Koko. So Scarf Hydreigon seems like an excellent means of speed control, speeding both the Zam and the Koko, as well as a +1 Zygarde. So that's definitely what I was expecting, and I was very concerned about the types of sets that he could run. I was really worried that he would bring like a Head Smash set, for example, which would be able to muscle through a Pokemon like Mandibuzz, which ordinarily, especially defensive Mandibuzz, is an excellent check to Hydreigon, especially in Gen 7 since it didn't have access to Nasty Plot. And then like a physical crunch would also make a lot of sense to do more damage to Mega Alakazam, especially if he's worried about something like a Calm Mind variant, which could begin to take more minimal damage from a Dark Pulse. So I thought a physical or like mixed Hydreigon made a lot of sense in the matchup. Keldeo I didn't think was that good against my team because I have Slowking and Mandibuzz as well as Roserade, and then like Koko and Zam, like all 5 of these Pokemon sort of do fairly well against it, and it really just doesn't get any coverage whatsoever for Slowking, because its only really coverage move is Icy Wind, and then like I don't know if it even gets like Hyper Beam, but still it wouldn't do too much to my set that I've got. So I wasn't really too concerned about Keldeo, though I did feel he would bring it just because his other options are bringing like Driftblim, which you got Strength Sap in Gen 8, but in Gen 7 this Pokemon's terrible. Tapu Bulu was a really big concern for my team. I don't have the best grass resists. They're Mandibuzz and Roserade, so I definitely thought that he would bring like Stone Edge, potentially something like a setup set or substitute could happen. But I felt that he was definitely going to be a more specially defensive variant of Tapu Bulu because my Mega Alakazam is such a big threat to him. You'll notice that the combination of like Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Dazzling Gleam hits the rest of his team super effectively. The Nidoqueen and Keldeo, of course, are weak to the Psychic Stab. Dazzling Gleam is going to obliterate Hydreigon, and they used to have Shadow Ball to nail the two Psychic types. So I thought like a very specially defensive Tapu Bulu would be very sensible, and I prepared for that. The Jirachi I thought was an interesting Pokemon. I thought that it could definitely be a potential choice Scarfer in this matchup. Maybe it's like two Scarfers alongside Hydreigon, or like maybe he wants to run a different Hydreigon set, because it would still outspeed Zygarde at +1 and have that speed control against Sam and Coco. But I thought it would be more likely as a second Scarfer. And if not that, I thought it would be more of like a lure set, or like some sort of supportive Jirachi, maybe with Stealth Rocks. And it would definitely have Icy Wind to deal with Zygarde. Like, I thought it could be like a specially defensive set to try to help deal with Mega Alakazam. That was the other potential option, I felt. And then in terms of their Zam, I was very concerned about a Zap Cannon set, because that does very well to hit both my Slowking and my Mandibuzz, which are my primary psychic checks on my team. Hits them super effectively, especially if there's terrain set up on my Tapu Koko. That Zap Cannon should do a lot of damage to my team. Those are my general ideas of like what sort of sets he might bring. I didn't really know too much about the Nidoqueen. It could be physical or special. Sucker Punch was definitely something I was a bit wary of as a potential tech for my Megazam, since it is a pretty significant threat to his team. But with that all said, let's go into what I decided to bring. So the starters, we have a Mega Alakazam. We're running max speed to speed tie his Zam. With a bit of HP, I believe this is supposed to live some sort of Dark Pulse from full, and then the rest is put into special attack. And I decided to opt for a 4-attack Zam. I already talked about how strong the Shadow Ball and Dazzling Gleam coverage are for the Hydreigon. There's Megazam and Jirachi. But then, because I was anticipating a specially defensive Tapu Bulu, I felt that Hidden Power Poison was very sensible, because something like Psychic into Hidden Power Poison had a good chance to kill some especially bulky variants of Tapu Bulu. And basically, this combination of moves made it impossible for him to really wall my Pokemon. So my second Pokemon is an Assault Vest Slowking, with a good amount of special defense investment and quite a bit of special attack as well, utilizing Ice Beam, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail was to take down Calm Mind variants of Mega Alakazam, which would be one way that Megazam could attempt to 1v1 Slowking. This special defense is designed to take on a +1 modest Zam's Shadow Ball, I believe, and not be too KO'd by that after rocks, or something ridiculous like that. Slowking is very, very bulky. I don't recall what this special attack does exactly. It probably seeks to get some sort of 2-hit KO on Megazam with Shadow Ball. That'll be my best guess. And then Ice Beam is very nice for Hydreigon, of course. Shadow Ball's for Psychic. Psychic is just for general stab. I was considering running like Scald over this, but Psychic was important in order to be able to 1v1 Keldeo, because otherwise I wasn't going to be able to do very good damage against it. And my next Pokemon is Mandibuzz, which is specially defensive for the Hydreigon, with Roost, Toxic, Brave Bird, and Foul Play. Foul Play is obviously Mandibuzz's primary attack that it usually uses, Roost, of course. Toxic, I felt, was a very good move for dealing with Hydreigon, Tapu Bulu, potentially Mega Alakazam. It's a big one. And then Brave Bird was really nice for dealing with some variants of Tapu Bulu and Keldeo, for example. Since they both resist Dark, if they're running like a substitute variant, then Toxic obviously wouldn't be able to hit them through the substitute, so that could be very annoying. So the Brave Bird stab is very, very nice for helping deal with those Pokemon, and lets Mandibuzz more comfortably 1v1 them, since it should be able to wall them to some extent. This is a lot of special defense. I believe this is designed to be able to eat Zap Cannons from Mega Alakazam. Yeah, I'm actually pretty shocked he didn't bring it, because, you know, between like Mandibuzz and Slowking, they don't really offensively pressure Mega Zam that much, to the point where I feel like the risk versus reward was definitely in his favor in terms of, you know, he might miss Zap Cannon, but I don't think it's like a huge deal if he misses it. Whereas he gains a lot if he hits it. My next Pokemon is the Tapu Koko. So I'm running a Choice Scarf myself. Running a physically biased Scarf set with Dazzling Gleam teched on, just to do the easy Oko on a Hydreigon. And all the extra EVs dumped into HP. This should be enough speed for a Scarf Jirachi. U-turn, obviously, for momentum. And I went with a physical set because Brave Bird is my best option of hitting the Tapu Bulu. Obviously, I guess I could have gone with like Hidden Power Poison, but that's not really a type of move I want to be locked into. He's got mons like Nidoqueen and Jirachi, which are also valid switch-ins to Koko. Wild Charge is, of course, just our general stab move. But the Brave Bird's really nice, yeah, for hitting the Bulu, also being our strongest move to hit Nidoqueen with, and still hitting Keldeo for super effective damage, hitting Hydreigon quite hard, as well as Mega Alakazam. Like, Brave Bird's a pretty spammable move against this team. His only flying resist is the Jirachi. And then my next Pokemon is Roserade, with the Technician ability with Synthesis for some longevity. Hidden Power Ground. This is to hit the Nidoqueen and the Jirachi for super effective damage. Sludge Bombs are primary stab option, hitting the Keldeo, Bulu, Zam, Hydreigon, all that for good stab damage. And then Spikes are really nice against his team. Yeah, his Hydreigon is the only Pokemon immune to Spikes on his team, with the exception of Alakazam before it Mega Evolves when it has Magic Guard. And Spikes will be really nice for wearing down Pokemon like Tapu Bulu to be KO'd by Mega Alakazam, as well as wearing down the Nidoqueen, which is the thing, one of the primary answers to Tapu Koko, which is kind of scary for his team. And then we have the Payapa Berry, and this is designed to help us more comfortably deal with Mega Alakazam, which is a massive threat in the Amon format. I think Mega Zam was one of the most notorious mons this season of DPL. And we got a pretty nice EV spread here. I believe this speed is designed to outspeed a modest Nidoqueen. And this bulk is designed to live a modest Psyshock after rocks with our Payapa Berry. Roserade, of course, having the lower physical defense stat, takes a lot more from Psyshock than it would from Psychic. And we should be able to respond to Psychic or Psyshock with a pretty strong Sludge Bomb. And hopefully trade like 1-for-1 with Alakazam was the idea. Because once their Mega Zam goes down, it's much more difficult for him to break my team. And for our last Pokemon, we have Zygarde with a Subtoxic Protect 1000 Arrows set. This is designed to take on Tapu Bulu for the most part, since ordinarily Tapu Bulu is very good against Zygarde. I would have gone for like a 1000 Wave set potentially to try to trap it, but 1,000 arrows is very important because of the Hydreigon. I don't recall what exactly these EVs do. This probably gets some sort of 2-hit KO on Jirachi, I'm guessing. And the special defense, or it might just be the rest of the EVs dumped into the attack. The special defense, I believe, is designed to take hits from Hydreigon, Mega Alakazam pretty well, and just live an assortment of potential Ice-type attacks. And with this HP investment, it's supposed to make it so that a Jirachi, uninvested Iron Head from Jirachi cannot break my substitute. And so this, the Subtoxic Protect 1,000 arrows should be able to do quite a bit of work to his team. Toxic, of course, dealing with the Bulu, which is the only resistance to 1,000 arrows, which otherwise does quite a bit of damage to Zam, Jirachi, Keldeo, Nidoqueen, and Hydreigon. Zygarde's a little awkward in this matchup because I could try to run like some sort of Z Iron Tail or Z Sludge Wave set to try to bait in the Tapu Bulu. But if I run like a Dragon Dance set and Scarf Hydreigon, it's just going to shut me down. And a lot of the more like offensively invested sets are more comfortably 1v1 by a lot of his team, which does generally outspeed Zygarde between the Keldeo, Hydreigon, Jirachi, and Mega Alakazam. So definitely appreciated a lot of the bulk investment in Zygarde in this matchup. So that's going to be all my sets for this match. I definitely saw my Mega Alakazam as a very strong breaker and win condition in this matchup, especially if we can get rid of the Hydreigon. Mandibuzz is an absolute menace for his team. If I can get rid of the right Pokemon, then Mandibuzz should be able to potentially even just beat his entire team on the spot. If he doesn't have the right sets for these Pokemon, Mandibuzz can 1v1 every single mon on his team, potentially. Scarf Koko could be a very nice cleaner in the endgame. Slowking should be very obnoxious. Just should be able to keep me in the game. Make sure I don't have to sack Pokemon to things like Zam and Keldeo. And Zygarde is supposed to... Zygarde and Roserade are the mons I'm really looking to trade in this matchup to get rid of the right mons to help my win conditions. So in the match, he did bring the 6 Pokemon that I expected. No really surprises here. I mean, he's not going to bring Drifblim and Duosion. I mean, he might have not brought Keldeo. I thought there was a possibility he could maybe not bring Keldeo, maybe bring like Drifblim potentially. Drifblim he might have brought because Keldeo's matchup's not great, but this is by far like his best Pokemon. So I'm gonna lead off with the Slowking, which matches up decently against anything he could lead off with, as he opts to go with the Zam lead. So he Mega Evolves, traces my Regenerator, and goes for Toxic. So I go for Ice Beam, predicting a potential Hydreigon or Tapu Bulu switch in. I guess it made sense since he traces Regenerator for him to stay in, especially the Toxic. So this is telling me, this is some pretty big insight as to what sort of Zam this is. Because if you look at my team, it seems like Zam is forced to run a lot of coverage moves if it wants to be an attacker. It needs either Zap Cannon or Dazzling Gleam to hit Mandibuzz. It needs Shadow Ball or Zap Cannon to hit Slowking. It needs Shadow Ball if it wants to hit opposing Alakazam. Definitely wants Psychic Stab to be able to hit Koko and Roserade. It might even want a move like HP Ice in order to deal with Zygarde, especially considering how especially defensive the Zygarde ended up bringing is, which he might have considered to be a real possibility given the speed tiers of this matchup. But because he has this Toxic, this is telling me that he's probably a little lower on the coverage moves that he has, because obviously he can't run all of those attacks. So I'm a little, less fearful of some of the things he could go for, but at the same time, this Toxic is very annoying because it will allow him to more comfortably deal with the Slowking and Mandibuzz, which should otherwise be able to deal with anything you could throw at it, bar potential Zap Cannons, especially in the electric terrain. So here, I'm going to predict him to actually make the switch, and I do catch him with the Ice Beam, because it goes to his Tapu Bulu, which takes not much at all, and this reveals this to be a very specially defensive Assault Vest Tapu Bulu, which I definitely expected Spadef Bulu, but I didn't think you bring AV. But this is going to make it so that my Alakazam cannot so comfortably just beat this Tapu Bulu on the switch with Psychic and Daiichi Poison. I will need more damage on this Bulu in order to put his entire team in at KO percentage. So I'm gaining some pretty good information about his team so far. So now I'm going to go into the Mandibuzz as he misses Stone Edge, which is unfortunate, but that's what the move does. As this turn, we're going to go for the Foul Play, which should do like okay damage to Bulu, just generally hit Pokemon. And this turn, we're going to go for the Toxic as he opts to recover. So this is a really good turn for us because obviously the Zam is on a timer now, and he's revealed 2 of his moves now, Toxic and Recover. So he's not going to have that many coverage options at all. He's probably just going to have like Psychic and Shadow Ball, maybe Psyshock. So that should make it a lot easier to pivot around this, but Toxic is definitely very annoying for my team. And the Recover is definitely going to change the way I have to play around this, because I can't just gradually chip down this Zam, since it will be able to get some recovery off. Especially if it's a very bulky set, it might even be able to recover on a Pokemon like Slowking. But the Toxic is definitely going to help in that regard. So I switched into the Slowking, which should be able to deal with the Alakazam, as well as the Pokemon I expected him to bring in, which was... what did I expect? Oh, no, I expected him to try to Toxic my Mandibuzz, so I went into the Slowking, which was already Toxic. And it also dealt with the Nidoqueen that he decided to switch into. So here, I just fire off another Ice Beam, so he switches his Zam in, traces my Regenerator, and now I go into the Roserade on this turn, predicting him to go into the Tapu Bulu. He goes into the Keldeo, which is an interesting play for sure, because it loses to the Slowking. Maybe predicting me to go into the Mandibuzz again, thinking that his Keldeo could beat my Mandibuzz if I don't have Brave Bird. But Roserade resists Keldeo's Dual Stab, and Icy Wind isn't a very strong move. So this is a favorable matchup for me, so I'm going to expect the switch and get up a Spike as he goes into Jirachi. Now I'm going to go into my Zygarde, which is very bulky and has leftovers, so it's not going to take too much from this Iron Head. And this does reveal the Jirachi to be uninvested in attack. And here he does reveal the Icy Wind tech, which is a bit annoying as I go for a Substitute. And my Zygarde's at pretty low percentage here. But if I can get rid of this Jirachi, this should really free up my Mega Alakazam. He misses an Icy Wind, which is unfortunate. So I go for the 1,000 Arrows and pop his Shuka-Berry. I could probably mix in some Protects here, but I thought he might switch out, to be honest. So I go for Protect here to get a little more percentage. And now I'm going to go into my Scarf Coco because it won't take too much from the Icy Wind. Because I'm Scarf, I'll still be able to outspeed a +1 and knock this Jirachi out with a U-turn. So we go into our Mandibuzz because it seems like the Pokemon that he has the most difficulty 1v1ing on his team. And he's not the Nidoqueen, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm very specially defensive. A Life Orb Ice Beam's not going to do too much to me. Or maybe he has Thunderbolt since I have the terrain on. But Ice Beam seems more likely because I do have a Zygarde. He could potentially be like a Shokaberry set. That was definitely something that we felt was a possibility in prep. I'm like, okay, I'll just get some damage on this with Foul Play. And this reveals that he is a specially invested variant, not a physically invested variant, since he didn't take too much from the Foul Play. So he shouldn't have Sucker Punch for Zam, so that's a relief. So here he goes for the Super Fang, which is an interesting choice. I don't know, like, and he's outspeeding me, which is weird because I did put 20 speed on the Mandibuzz, which I felt should put me out from being crept by like a defensively oriented Nidoqueen. But he's running quite a bit of speed, which you can see he goes for the Taunt this turn as I go for the Roost, and now the speed makes a lot of sense. But it does also mean that he's lacking some bulk. But this was very good prep to do with my Mandibuzz. But yeah, it'll definitely leave him more vulnerable to the Tapu Koko. But the thing is, so he's revealed Taunt, Super Fang, and Stealth Rock. And Super Fang can't KO Pokemon, especially since I have leftovers. So I'm not really convinced that the Nidoqueen can actually kill my Mandibuzz still. And so it should still be able to 1v1 him, though he will probably be able to keep me at pretty low HP. So I go into the Zygarde, which yeah, I'm pretty convinced can take on that Nidoqueen at this point. As he makes the switch into Keldeo. I'm predicting this, I suppose. And I'm going to try to go for a Toxic, predicting a Tapu Bulu switch, as he opts for a Substitute. I could probably go into Slowking at this point, but I am Toxic. And I'm concerned he might start going for Calm Minds, and that can make this very annoying. I don't want to lose my Slowking, and I feel like my Zygarde actually is my most expendable Mon at this point. It's gotten rid of the Jirachi, so it's sort of done its job. So I don't want to allow him to Calm Mind, so I opt for the 1,000 Arrows to try to break the Substitute. This is Ice You and kills me. So now I can safely get in my Slowking and pop this up with a Psychic. And this turn we're going to switch into the Roserade, which should deal with the Keldeo, as well as the Bulu switch that I anticipated him to make, because his Bulu does well my Slowking pretty well. So he goes into the Alakazam, and this is the exact situation we were expecting with our Pineapple Berry. So he's going to go for the Psychic as we live that with our Berry and get off a big Sludge Bomb. And you'll see this is going to leave him at 18%. And this next turn, wait, no, did you take Toxic yet? And yeah, so his next Toxic damage was going to be 18%. And you see he's at 18%. So this turn, if he attacked me with this another Psychic, he would die to Toxic. And I was very comfortable trading my Roserade for his Mega Alakazam, because that basically would be his breaker down with Sam gone. And it would really free up my own Mega Alakazam as well. So I expected him to recognize that his Mega Alakazam was important and go into Pokemon like Nidoqueen, potentially. And I wanted to take advantage of that and get a Spike Up, especially since his Zam has traced the Regenerator. It's not like it's going to be at no HP. And another Spike should be very helpful for putting Tapu Bulu in range of my Zam, as well as wearing down this Nidoqueen even more. So I went for another Spike, but I do think that Sludge Bomb was a better play because it keeps his Zam very low. If he decides to stay in, it forces the Zam to die. Whereas if he goes into the Nidoqueen this turn, if I were to Sludge Bomb, I would be able to do a Spike again. So I do think this is a slight misplay. But the Spike is still good. But Sludge Bomb, I would definitely prefer, actually, in this position. So here I'm going to save my Roserade and go into the Slowking. And the Zam's taking a lot of damage, and these 2 spikes are better than 1. As you can see, we're finally putting this Bulu in pretty decent damage range now that we got the 2 spikes. And we have to sack here because his Nidoqueen is faster than my Mandibuzz. I was concerned that his Bulu would also be faster. He's already revealed the Stone Edge. And with Rocks up, Wood Hammer into Stone Edge should be able to kill my Mandibuzz, so I felt like I needed to sack my Roserade here, which has gotten up 2 spikes, so it's already sort of done its job. So he goes for the Wood Hammer. I go into my Koko, and go for the Brave Bird as he decides to sack his Mega Alakazam, so that's very nice for me. Here, if I go into Mandibuzz as he U-turns, it puts me in a very bad position because my Mandibuzz will have taken Rocks. It'll take another U-turn, it'll be like 30%, and then it'll be able to do something like go into his Nidoqueen and prevent my Mandibuzz from healing, and then my Mandibuzz is going to be at like 5% when it comes back, and I'm going to lose the game. Basically, is how I felt. So I felt like on the other hand, if he tries to predict me to stay in and goes for a move like Earth Power as I go into Mandibuzz, or that's just terrible. Or even like locking into Earth Power as I go into Slowking. So I felt pretty confident that he was going to go for a U-turn here. So I decided to go for Brave Bird to get the damage that I felt I needed on Hydreigon. So this would make it easier for me to pick up kills on the Hydreigon, put it in range of a U-turn from my Koko. Yeah, it's now in range of my Koko's U-turn, which is very nice. And also potentially dying to like a Slowking Ice Beam later. So I went for the Brave Bird, get a nice 48% off. He goes for the U-turn, which does not too much because I resist that move. So very good turn for me there. Go into the Slowking, which comfortably takes the Earth Power and should force this all out with a Psychic. Which I do not for because I don't think he'll risk his Hydreigon at this point. Good damage on the Bulu, but maybe Ice Beam would have been good there. I thought he would have potentially sacked his Nidoqueen at that point because it was getting low. But I don't think Ice Beam was killing anyways. Let's see. His Bulu came in at 31, and Ice Beams earlier were doing 29 to this Tapu Bulu. So yeah, Ice Beam wasn't going to kill anyways. So I felt Psychic was a fine play then. But again, I can't really comfortably switch into the Bulu at this point because my Mandibuzz is so weak. So going to this, I believe it is a roll to kill me with Stone Edge, though he can of course also miss or potentially crit. But he doesn't know if he's faster than me or not. He knows my Mandibuzz is slower than his Nidoqueen, but if his Bulu is slower than his Nidoqueen, maybe not. His Bulu is a very bulky set, very specially defensively invested. So I think it would make sense for him to not have a ton of speed. And so I think, yeah, he decides to sack his Keldeo. So I'm going to go for the Roost and even get some grassy terrain to recovery. And I think this puts me in a very good position. It's now my Mandibuzz is back up to full. And this seems like a very strong position for me. If I can get rid of the Hydreigon, then my Alakazam just wins on the spot. Because it Psychics the Nidoqueen, Psychics the Keldeo, and then with the Spikes up and the range that Blue's at, even with its AV and special defense, it should dive to HP Poison. Here I'm going to go for Brave Bird, which he didn't know I had at the time, but that tech definitely pays off here. He's going to go for his Icy Z, which does 44% to my Mandibuzz. But that actually does decent damage, actually, because it's going to mean that after I Brave Bird this Tapu Bulu, yeah, it does 48 and outspeeds, So the information game sort of bailing me out. So after Brave Bird this type of Bulu, I'm actually going to be at really low range, to the point where I die to recoil. But I trade my Mandibuzz for both the Keldeo and the Bulu, which is pretty nice, 2 months for one. And at this point, it's sort of a 50-50 on the lead at this point, since it's a double down. If I send out my Zam as he leads his Hydreigon, it potentially puts me in a fairly bad spot. Especially since my Coco is so low. Then he can just click Crunch, and I believe I lose at that point. Or if he clicks Crunch, then I have to sack my Zam to the Dark move and try to crit Brave Bird on Nidoqueen, I guess. I don't know, it's not good. Whereas if I send out Coco and he sends out Nidoqueen, that's also bad for me. But it's not that bad because the Nidoqueen cannot force a kill onto me. I should be able to U-turn into Mega Alakazam and should be fine. So I felt that the Coco was the less risky one, and it also deals with the Hydreigon. So we sent out the Coco. Though the rocks are working against us here, we only get to come back in once. But because of our Brave Bird earlier, it's now in range of U-turn. So this is a free U-turn here. So the spikes are putting in a lot of work. I'm wearing down this Nidoqueen. And at this point, it's in range. It's in 3 KO range of our Alakazam. We've seen all 4 of its moves now, so we're not worried about Sucker Punch or something like that. And we can just comfortably click Dazzling Gleam and win. Especially with the sheer 4 boost. That's pretty nice. It doesn't matter on Dazzling Gleam though. So we're just going to spam this. We could have lost to a crit on the previous turns, I guess. Though I think this puts it in range of Brave Bird anyways. So we're going to take that out. And his Scarf Hydreigon didn't even get EV to outspeed our Mega Alakazam. With him also having a Mega Alakazam, so max speed Zam was definitely an option. I mean, it's how much I ran, but his Hydreigon did not outspeed my Zam. I don't know. Did he even creep a Zygarde then? Because I feel like +1 Zygarde outspeeds Zam. I don't know, I'm not sure. So that was kind of weird. But this was a pretty good game. I played my Zygarde a bit recklessly, I suppose. I really regret not sludge bombing the Zam with my Roserade earlier when I went for the second spike. But the spikes put in a lot of work this matchup, to be fair, so I can't really hate on that play too much. I think I made some pretty good plays, especially Brave Birding on the Hydreigon. Some pretty nice doubles into Roserade and stuff. And I liked my build. I thought it really put me in a decent position to win this matchup. It seemed like a pretty even one. He had some Pokemon that weren't great against me. He also had some Pokemon that were very scary. Very concerned about the Bulu, the Zam, the Hydreigon. Jirachi had a lot of potential. So overall, I was pretty happy with how I played this. But it was very funny. This Hydreigon now outspeeding the Zam. So I'm going to give you guys a little backstory here. Apparently, Jacob was 2-0 at this point in DPL, and feeling very confident going into this. So he prepped on his own, and so his team didn't look over his EVs to make sure everything was right. And I feel like you'd trust your captain to not mess up so badly. Obviously the Scarf Hydreigon should outspeed the Zam, right? That's very apparent. But he apparently was kind of arrogant going into the matchup, and people were telling him I know you don't know who DL is, I know you've never heard of them, but I'm telling you, this is not a scrub. You need to actually prepare for this. This is not a walk in the park. Which, high praise, I think, for myself going in at that point, because I wasn't really knowing at all. I only had the one win on LeJon, and people discounted that because they all say LeJon's wash, which may or may not be true, but still, I thought I played that game pretty well. Check my last video for that one. But yeah, he definitely paid some price. If he was Starfire Dragon, he clicks a dark move, kills my Zam, but then my Coco outspeeds and kills with U-turn or Dazzling Gleam, whatever move I go for. So he loses anyways, but it looks a little less embarrassing. So I'm pretty happy with this match. Spoon Theory triumphs. I defeat 2 captains in a row. So yay, go team. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I get drafted tomorrow in DPL Season 3. Alright, take care. Bye.